to write you an email a couple of times, and then it came a report back saying I thought the name was very funny, called I don't know, but called something like Demon Yahoo. And then it said, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was very funny. So I knew what's up then. I mean, I'm a little bit shocked to be really honest, because I can't believe that this is really happening. And so I question my mind and I question myself. It's maybe because I watched the videos that I'm now very sensitive to this kind of things, because I also believe that, what you think about, what you observe in your mind becomes reality, right? The power of thoughts. And so I was questioning myself a little bit. But it is really overwhelming, what, because I'm living in a very small. I live in Frankfurt. It's a big town, but I'm living in the suburbs, kind of, and it's a very. It used to be a small village, so in my way to school to bring my little daughter to school, it's only like 5 minutes. And the street theater, what's going there, it's overwhelming. I can't believe this.
Yeah, they're doing the gang stalking and you're using the street theater when you're taking your daughter to school every day.
Yes, every morning.
Every
And
morning.
even my daughter, every morning, it's like 7:45, and I never realized this. I mean, I always knew there were always cars in front of me, but there was never brightening, never in my life. And now the brightening is so strong that today, I think after this now 1 week, I just talked to somebody. I took a young guy who was standing at the bus station, and I asked him, "Listen, is this normal that people are today riding their cars with light? Because normally in Germany it's forbidden putting on the light during the day. I mean, it used to be forbidden." So then he told me, well, he never noticed that, and he doesn't know. And so I took some of your advice, and then I told him, well, I don't know either, but uh, I told him, do you know the term gang stalking? And he said no, and I think, well, I searched on the internet, and uh, um, gang stalking is what I thought it is, CIA, FBI, and the Stasi and the Bundesnachrichtendienst, they use whitening as a tactic. And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, I don't know either. And then I told him, well, maybe it could be that the new cars, when you put on your radio or something, that maybe automatically the light is going on, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but it would be one thing if the lights came on automatically on just a few cars, but you notice it's almost every car that's doing it.
Yes, I mean, sometimes after 10 cars, there's one car who's normal.
Right, right. It's too many cars for it to be a coincidence.
Yes, and that's what I was thinking too, but I thought maybe it's a new technique. So I walked into, when I came home, I walked inside, and I mean, I walked to the parking lot, and there was a guy also going straight to his car, and he flashed the red thing in the back, and he was very elegant dressed, and in this, and he looked like African American, and so I knocked at his window, and I'm not a person who's afraid, and I will talk to people. I'm very a polite person, so I knocked at his window, and I look very young for my age. I'm 46 years old, but I'm very small, and I'm very, I have a very very young appearance, and so people are not afraid of me. So I knocked at his window and I asked him, and he had an accent. So he had like kind of accent. I don't know which accent, but I wondered just a little bit. I don't know. He was extremely elegant in the car, and he was very polite. And I asked because in this from this house he came out of, it's not a very it's not in this little section island. People have not much money, they're just regular people, and I could tell. Um, I don't know. And I asked him, are you going to drive now with the light on? And he told me, um, yes. And I say, well, I wonder because in Germany, normally during the day, people are not allowed to put their lights on or drive to people. So, and I asked him, do you know maybe a new technique? Because I don't drive cars, I don't even have a driver license. So he told me, well, if you put automatic on the car, then maybe that's why the light is on the cars. If you
Right.
put automatic on. So, and the funny thing I thought, I told the other guy in the bus station about that, and he's giving me this answer. I mean, he's driving a car. He must know.
Right. Yeah, a lot of times, I wonder if they're doing it themselves or somehow the
Yeah.
car, it's a signal from the
Yes.
company or something that's being sent to the car. But I've seen a lot of people automatically turn them on purpose just because I came around and they got asked to gang stalk me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like older
Yeah.
cars, cars from like the 80s or the 1970s, where
Mm-hmm.
there's no technology to come on automatically. They had to do it themselves.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Ha-
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just know this is. I I could maybe um, if that would be all, I would say okay. Maybe it's just because now I'm sensitive to it, or I just want to see it. Because I remember when I used to have a boyfriend, I would see his car. I mean, the model of the car everywhere. I mean, that all my life it was like this. I remember always when I had a boyfriend, then suddenly I would break up with him or I would be still in a relationship with him. The model of the car would be everywhere where I would go. So I was at that. I thought, okay, it's just you know,
like
which
they were mimicking it to you, huh? Mimicking his car to you.
but it has been like this all my life. I mean, I know this phenomenon, and I know also my daughter also knows. I have two daughters. One is 14, she turned 14. One is 6, and she turns to now 7. And yeah, always noticed, and all my friends, all my life noticed, and there would always be jokes about that. That if I enter a store and the store would be empty, and I would look at something, there would be all people, the store would be packed, and people would, or I would stand there and look at a certain section, and suddenly everybody wanted this piece, or this, wanted to look at this part where I was looking at. And so they always would do a joke and say, Shada, you really should open up a store. You would become very rich because wherever you go, um, everybody knows. You understand? I'm sorry, my English, I understand a lot of English, but my English is not perfect anymore. I used to live in America for 13 years. So I came around the world. I'm not bored and I'm thinking now, hey, I'm going to make myself now interesting because I have nothing else to do. No, um, I'm just shocked. I can't believe this.
you're shocked that you're being gang stalked?
Yes, because there's no reason for it. I mean,
Right.
not really.
Ha- have you had somebody who was a friend of yours um, be gang stalking you participating in the street theater?
No, but I because now um, I am well. I see some neighbors now always coming out at the same time as I go out, and there are really some. What really happens a lot is not noise harassment. Or people standing at the corner with the iPhone.
Yeah, do they?
Well, hold on. You can see me if I click the cam. I have something in front of my camera. Please keep talking. Maybe you can see. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Hi.
So you're in
Now,
Frankfurt right now?
excuse me?
You're in Frankfurt, Germany right now?
Yes, I'm in Frankfurt, Germany. Yeah, I was born in
Oh,
Frankfurt,
bro.
Germany, and I live here. So um, I think maybe I think I don't know what to think.
It's crazy. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, actually I have no problem being gang stalked, but you know sometimes I'm a little bit afraid because they're pulling the cars always in front of me with lightning, and I have to be careful that they don't drive me over.
Hmm.
And so when it's so, or they almost um, having accidents,
Right.
and I'm becoming very sarcastic about it. And I'm like, yeah, just, one into each other, So I start laughing inside of me. I mean, because I'm like, they're almost bumping and causing accidents. And mm, so I'm just afraid of my children. I'm not afraid for myself,
Right.
but I have children, and I don't think it's funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. I've been getting gang stalked since the summer of 2015, and it's just been lots of people gang stalking me everywhere. I've had my food drugged. I've gone out to eat at restaurants and had my food drugged. I've had people use electronical weapons on me. Um, just every single day, if I go somewhere to a store, it's people wearing the red and black. Like you said, they yell the noise campaigns. It's just constant, you know.
But extremely. With me, it's big trucks. Suddenly, there's everywhere construction where I go.
Hmm.
I mean, yesterday I came home from school with my daughter,
Hmm.
and you will not believe this. Across the street, they're renovating a house, and the guys who work there, the construction worker, was on the fence and on the phone talking. The other guy was on his car with this um, thing up, with his, I don't know how to call it, the design, in the back, where you can have the door, you can pull it up,
Right.
search there for something. And I said, okay, that's fine. But then I wanted to cross the street, and suddenly I see this guy, a really tall guy, very heavy guy, with his worker, and he has this machine where you can clean the leaves away. And I looked at me straight in my eyes, and as I approached to cross the street, he tells him to turn his thing on. So I just turn around and there is, and I just sat down with my daughter. There was like a little tree, and there was some metal fence around that tree, and we sit down there. So, and I just watched him doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looked at me straight in the eye, walked over the street, and tried to talk to me or come close to me. In that point, I stood up with my daughter, crossed the street, and this worker who had this machine was down in a garage. It's like it's like a little drive where you go into the garage, and there was no need for anything. And so, and there's other a lot of noises and big trucks holding in the middle of the street,
Mm-hmm.
and and what they also did, I ordered two cameras, uh, um, like like hold on, this kind of camera, like this camera, like I've now three of them.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, the guy from Amazon came. One was delivered without the card. Just the card wasn't in there. I mean, the card to record stuff. The other one, I don't understand how it works, I guess. And now I ordered yesterday, same day, this one, because I want to record this. I don't know if I will put it on YouTube yet, because I'm a little bit scared of, it's a small neighborhood. If I put these videos on, I don't know if I get in trouble with all of them.
No, I
And
think it'd be good for you to put them on there to expose it and show people. But I'll put them on mine for you if you don't want to put it. Like if you ever want me to put it on my YouTube channel, I'll put it on there for you.
yes,
Yeah, if you don't want to put it on yourself, you know what I mean? Then you can have somebody put them up for you.
okay.
Did
Then
you
what you have? Mhm.
did you ever look at I sent you the blog about my courses about beating game.
Yes, yes. I checked them before. I mean, I was doing a real crazy research. You understand?
Right.
After I saw that things, I watched a lot of videos of yours. I watched a lot of videos of the Wisdom Cafe,
Yeah.
the Wisdom Cafe with Lisa,
Mhm.
and a lot of other people. But the Wisdom Cafe with Lisa, she had a very calming noise, and somehow it connected with the noise because you can't see her. And I kept watching her um, videos. And so I watched your videos, and because before I watched some other videos, and I thought, oh, maybe these people are crazy. You
Mhm.
know, I'm like, maybe they're really like kind of crazy because, and so then I watched your video, and then I watched the Wisdom Cafe with Lisa, and I think God is our protector. And I realize these people are not crazy because I mean I see what they see because they're documented it. I can see it, and then I realize something is going on. I always realize something is going on. Something because um, um, I dated some powerful people in my life
Mhm.
when I was living in New York in 1987.
Mhm.
And I thought maybe, yeah, so, but it was never bad. I mean, I never felt threatened by it or, I felt kind of, I don't know. I mean, but then I realized, I'm afraid, I don't put it on YouTube, okay, what I'm saying now, okay? You hear me?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I hear you.
I mean, I was dating a guy who was working for the United Nations, and he was a translator for France, and but I left him. He wanted to marry me, but I didn't want to. And then I dated a guy. Then I had I was in New York, and I used to go to a very small bar because I lived in Soho, and I'm Moroccan originally.
Okay.
So I'm Moroccan originally.
Right.
And I always liked the second king of Morocco. You know, the pictures when you see him as the girl.
Yeah.
Not the first king, not the guy who's king now.
Mm-hmm.
His brother, the little one. So, and I really liked him. So it happened that I got to meet him in New York, and I also got together with him. And then there was an incident. The second night, I went out with him, and we spent one night together. And then the next day, he wanted me to come with him to the embassy. I mean, I was invited. He had a dinner with
Wow.
the ambassador of. I mean, I don't know how to say it. The embassy guy, from Morocco who lives in New York, and there was a big dinner made, and I was invited there. And then the incident was then we went to the old bar, and then to the other bar I used to go with my friend Gerard Matussier. I went there too with him, and then he went away with few people, and I was brought back into his um, hotel room on Fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Moment.
Huh?
Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't see you no more.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I just pressed the wrong button, I guess. Here you are. Here you are. So, and then what happened? Okay, to make it very short, it was always my dream to meet him, etc. I don't know why it happened. So he let me. I was brought back with few other guys and people to that suite, and there was one guy,
Right.
and they invited me. There was one guy. There was it doesn't matter what race he was. Anyhow, he insulted me. And another guy told me, well, an intelligent woman is very dangerous. He told me.
Wow.
And yes. And then the other guy insulted me somehow. It was an African American dude, and I think, I don't know, I can't say everything. And he said something to me. And so I had a glass in my hand. I took the glass, I threw the glass, and I just walked out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. I never saw him again. But the first time I met him in Morocco. We were friends. So, I mean, the second king, Mohammed, maybe Mullah Rashid. And so I thought, maybe, maybe that's maybe certain things happening, but it was never really bad. I mean, it was more positive. I mean, where I would live, things become more beautiful or something like that. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
It was never anything bad really. But then I lived in America. I left America. I went to Key West, and bad things happened in Key West. And then I was constantly moving, and constantly this drama in my life. And people would approach me with really strange offers. And in the end, I lived in Miami, and I lived in Fort Lauderdale, and I got a child.
You moved around a lot.
What?
I said you moved around a lot.
Yes. So, and there was a lot, always struggle and drama. And now where I hear the other stories, It makes more sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. And I left. I had another boyfriend in Key West, and I don't want to tell everything, but all I
Right.
can say is um, um, I left to the Bahamas because I wanted to reinstall my visa, and um, this guy has a private airplane,
Mm-hmm.
and so he flew me out of the United States because I wanted to get my visa reinstalled because I was a foreign student, and I got pregnant, and so I wasn't a full time student, and so I got out of visa. Understand? I violated my visa status, and you have to see I studied dance at the Mother Grad School in New York, and I got a stipendium, and I got granted a work permit. So you get those things
Wow.
that really liked you.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I was in Germany an actress in the guy from Matrix, Leo. I
Yeah,
met
Neo.
him, I met him in 1996 in Berlin in a hotel after he came here for the film Berlinale, Independence Day. So I went to that film Berlinale through another guy who invited me to come because he was the distributor of 21st Century, and so I met that guy, and he took me as his accompanyship with him. And we went to a hotel, and there I met Leo, and I didn't knew the Matrix then or anything. I didn't. But I was an actress in Germany, in Frankfurt, when I was 16, and I went to Berlin to study in Berlin acting.
Okay.
And so then I met all these people. And I remember I went with Leo up, I don't know his real name. I went up with him. I
Keanu
didn't
Reeves.
know he, hmm?
His real name's Keanu Reeves. The
Yeah,
actor?
yes, he, the guy, the handsome guy, right, was the main actor at Matrix. And I didn't know Matrix at this time because I was a theater actress.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really watch much movies anyhow. And so we went up to his hotel room because I liked him and I thought he was really handsome and he just had, the lead role at Independence Day. So at that time, I went upstairs with him and we started talking and he ordered a Buddha soup.
Uh-huh.
And suddenly he got a phone call and basically after his phone call, he told me that his director told him that I have to.
Oh, man.
And I left.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You,
I just don't know. I just don't know. The fun there was something. Now I want to tell you why I think I'm gang stalked. Okay. I went to a shopping center a week ago and I met an old friend of mine who was with me in high school. And he had a breakdown when he was 19 years old. He had a breakdown, a mental breakdown. They call it bipolar. And he is since then on medication. I talked to him, he's a nice guy. And I talked to him, told him a few things about gang stalking because that's when I was very new into it. And then I told him the story about, and I never talk about that story, the second king of Morocco, Mullah Rashid. I didn't tell him the name, and I told him the king. I
right.
dated the king. I mean, the second king. But I think there was a woman next to me and she seemed to have been listening. The next day, One day later, I think it was, or maybe the second day, I don't know. I have to start writing things down. I walk out with my daughter to bring her to school, and at the corner, when we come out, there is a picture on the floor of the first king of Morocco in a glass that big,
Wow.
in a glass frame, but the glass is broken. And I was wondering, and I had no camera, and I couldn't photograph it because my phone is going really crazy. I need to get a new phone. It's not never loading up again, or it suddenly has no power. And I know what that means. And so then I said to myself, when I came back, you go outside, you're going to photograph that now. And the picture was gone. It was all clean.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew this cannot be incident.
Right.
This cannot be incident.
They do a lot. They do when the people who do the gang stalking orchestrations. They do a lot of weird stuff like that. Like they like to mess with your mind.
Yeah, but I wonder, did he tell him? Did he tell them that? Or was it this woman next to us? How do they know?
They can. You know what? We can be like. You can be sitting down talking to somebody, and if you have a cell phone by you, or if you have something else by you, they can pick up on what you're saying, and
Yeah.
like they're constantly. I mean, they're constantly watching
Yes.
people.
Yes. Well, I'm not afraid of being watched. I'm not afraid of anything like this. But I don't like electronic weapons. I think I wouldn't like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're walking down the street and you see people doing a street theater towards you, if you start approaching them and talking to them, like waving at them and getting their attention and talking to them, you might be able to strike up a conversation, and you can ask them about the gang stalking, and what I mean, it can break your fear, so to speak, of what's going on.
Yes, I took your advice. I did this today twice.
Did
I
it
did
help?
this
What did
3 times. I did it,
you?
and I approached them. I mean, I asked them questions. Only one woman I really approached because she was standing in the corner. She had a blue bag because the other combination is blue. As the other people say, it's really blue. It's a blue bag or blue coat, blue and black. The other thing was also I was seeing a lot was orange cars. What I also was seeing a lot was yellow, greenish, very light greenish, combined with blue, a green, a light green with blue, like a Florence yellow, greenish with blue, orange, like this kind of combination. And a lot of the DHL trucks, the yellow ones everywhere. And so, but that was only one day. I mean, now it's not anymore because it's changing. Also, it's changing. But that's why I thought I was gangster because how can this happen? And there are Moroccans living in my area, and the funny thing was, it was the wrong guy. It was not the king of Morocco. It was the second king. But I did. Used the he didn't understand, or I used the wrong guy. You understand?
Yeah.
I said the first king, the king. I didn't say the second king because I would say the second king. And so but it was happened with, I don't know, I'm not into them anymore. I'm not into that whole thing. Happened a bit, whatever he's called, I think the bursting of his picture was there, and that was the wrong picture. And so, what all I can say, my mother is working for 30 years she's a translator from Morocco, and she translates in the court system. She also, as I'm 13, I know that you listen to conversations and all that because she used to translate these conversations, for drug dealers and stuff. So, and I mean, I know kind of a little bit the system. And
right.
so,
Yeah.
But I would never thought that um, they would do it on me. I mean, I always thought, I mean, in my kind of naive thinking, maybe, I, I just know that after I left, well, okay, I noticed I had a lot of problems when I came to Germany. I thought maybe they want to punish me because I overstayed in America because I was pregnant with an American who left me and he didn't do anything for me. Actually, the next day he came into prison. He came into prison because he had some issues. I mean, he had a lot of issues, this guy. But I was with him only 2 weeks, and I slept with him only once. I got pregnant and I kept the child. And so when I came back from Germany, from America, I thought I'm going to be maybe punished because I overstayed. I made a lot of money in Florida, and so I didn't pay taxes. So I thought maybe I'm going to get punished now because I had a lot of when I came here in 2007. My mother was really bad to me. Um, uh, I ended up twice in a mental institution for 24 hours. But the funny thing, I had mm, once it was with my mother. I think there was something happening. I was drunk. I drank 2 beers, and I was living in a woman's shelter because my mother had thrown me, crowded me out, or she was very, very bad to me because she didn't like the way I was, or she thought I was brainwashed in America. And so I went there with my little daughter. She was at that time 3 years old. Anyhow, so what happened is I was really freaking out, and they brought me to my mother, and my mother would not take me in and told me that my daughter can stay and I cannot stay. So I tried to call my stepfather like crazy, but it didn't work because I couldn't see. You have to know I could drink a lot of beer because I lived in Florida and I was working at night, so I was used to alcohol. So not strong alcohol, but I could drink beer, so I wouldn't get that crazy after 2 beers, I, and then anyhow, what happened? I didn't want my daughter to stay with my mother, and so that took my child away to kind of not a foster home, but for 2 days for someplace. And I, at that time, was screaming and saying that Jesus is the Son, and my mother is Muslim. I'm not a real Muslim, and so she's not practicing. And so that took me to this institution, mental institution. Maybe they didn't want to put me in jail or something. When I arrived there, this was 10 years ago. When I arrived there, they put me in the office and they told me, listen, unfortunately, we cannot let you go because you have a shift transfer, and you have to stay here until tomorrow morning. And I never saw a room or anything. I was sitting with them in the office, and I
Mm-hmm.
told them my story. And I remember I gave them $1 bill because I had $1 bill left, and it was a lucky $1 bill. And then the next day, my mother came and picked me up.
Right.
And so I realized there was a lot of strange things happening around that time, but I managed it. I got myself a place. I moved away from that neighborhood. I got really harassed in that neighborhood, but I thought, okay, maybe they're just jealous. I was very beautiful, you know. So I thought maybe they're just jealous of stupid, dumb, poor people, you know. And so I was like, okay, I moved away from this neighborhood, and then I moved to this neighborhood. And now I'm realizing maybe it started all a long time ago, and I just didn't realize.
Right. Did you hear what happened? I was talking about my YouTube videos. I was getting gang stalked for a year and a half, and
Mm-hmm.
I went on a 37-mile walk, and I was being gang stalked the whole 37 miles. I got frustrated and I got angry. I just took off walking and I just kept walking. And at the end of the 37-mile walk, the police stopped me and asked me what I was doing, and then they told me they wanted to bring me back home. And I told them I was all right to leave me there, and they said that I might have had hypothermia or something. So they called an ambulance, and the ambulance took me all the way to the hospital, back to where I live, in the area I live at. And within seconds, a doctor came in there and asked me two questions. And he asked me a question. I told him I wanted some water because I was thirsty. And that's all he. And then he asked me another question. I said I was thirsty. I want some water. And then he wrote down something on a piece of paper saying I was paranoid and all this stuff. Then they went to my mother and had my mother sign me involuntarily into the psychiatric ward. And I was in ER for 4 days because they said hypothermia and all that stuff. And they moved me to the psychiatric ward after 10 days. And when I was in the psychiatric ward, I was being gang stalked in there. And then the whole time, all the doctors that worked there were participating in gang stalking me and everything. You know, they were pretending on one side that they were worried about me being paranoid and they were talking about me walking 37 miles, but they were the ones that were lying and playing games and stuff with their paperwork and all this stuff and gang stalking me and participated in me getting the whole thing was on them. You see, does that make sense at all? All right.
Yes, that makes sense. Of course, that makes sense.
Right, right. And so I'm sitting in a psychiatric ward and they're asking me if I'm paranoid, but they're gang stalking
Mm-hmm.
me. And then
Yeah,
I,
they're the paranoid ones, but they have to find that term. I mean, they try to do that with me too, but I don't know. I was very lucky, I think. Because I believe also very much in the Almighty, and I don't say God no more because of certain reasons. Because it spells back dog, and it can be all kind of God. If you say God, there are many gods. People worship a lot of gods. So that's why I use the term Almighty or the Most High. You can use it as source, but there is really no word with it. But I connect. The secret is to connect with this loving feeling, with this love feeling, with this one, your protector or your father is with you. And so I was very lucky in many, many occasions because I was also in my life in very dangerous situations and with dangerous people were really nice because I always try to connect with them in a certain level, in a childish level. I try to see them as children.
mm,
You see? Because what I, when what makes me mad actually, or what upsets me, that I'm getting mad. I don't want to get mad. I don't want to get angry when I go out there because it's really getting on my nerves. And I know that's exactly what they want, and I don't want this happening to me. So what I do when I start now freaking out, when it's a little bit too much, I just go to a tree and I just touch a tree or a leaf, and now I feel much better because then I'm in the love vibe. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
anger is gone. What I also do is I walk around, I connect in any tree, and I just talk in my mind to that tree that I love you, I'm so glad you're here, and so I can breathe, I appreciate you, or to any bush or whatever it is, that's everywhere. I talk to them, I apologize to them, and say sorry that you have that little space to live, but I appreciate you, I love you, thank you for letting me breathe, and or so I do that. Or the birds. There are always a lot of birds then around me. I look at them at the sky, and I try to take my focus somewhere else.
Right.
And they're there, and they're singing. So, but I have to say, I'm really anxious because I'm really I don't think that's funny, and I don't think that's right. And I mean, I'm lucky. I mean, so far there's no energy weapons used to me, and I think this is my fate. That's okay, you know. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I had to walk. I used to go on long walks, and when I'd be walking down the street, they'd have cars coming at me, going 50 miles per an hour and stuff, and they'd come right in front of me and keep coming like they were going to hit me and kill me, and then pull away at the last second and pull off. And I went through that repeatedly, over and over again, right? Then I started waving at the cars and stuff, and they started waving
yeah,
back. You know what I mean? But I had to go through all the same stuff, with the group stalking and everything. And no, I know what you're talking about because if somebody has not experienced it themselves, then their mind is nowhere near capable of even knowing what that's like. You know what I mean?
especially when they drive by with lightning,
Yeah,
and then you look, you know, you watch them, and they look at you. I
yeah,
mean, normal people would go straight, right?
yeah,
And I'm not, dressed up or anything. I used to make myself very beautiful, but now they're so easy to look at me.
yeah, yeah. I was eating at a restaurant one time. I walked 30 miles and I was getting gang stalked the whole way. This was in a local city, and I went to the restaurant. And this is a different time. I used to walk all the time back in this is back around the summer, early summer of 2016 when I started coming out of my courses. And I walked 20 something miles or whatever, 30 miles. I went to a restaurant and they drugged my food. And then as they drugged my food, they were sitting there smiling and laughing and stuff, mimicking me and doing gang stalking on me. Then I had to walk all the way back home, drugged, getting gang stalked the whole way back. Cars coming at me like they're gonna hit me and kill me and stuff, you know. And yeah, I went through some rough stuff. I mean, it's just talking about it doesn't even describe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
People.
mean, yes, I want to know. Um, One of your videos, you said you think you are being gangsta because you were doing a lot of conspiracy research on the internet.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a veteran conspiracy researcher. I spent years studying the cover-ups, the lies of the 1960s and 1970s, and I found out that almost everything that was presented in the news media in the 1960s and 1970s was just lies. They lied. All they did in the 60s and 70s was lie, just like all they do is lie now. But I went back and, I wanted to uncover the lies. So I started examining some of the events that happened. And I found out not only were they lies, it was worse than what I thought it was.
Did you make videos?
Oh yeah, yeah. I did. I made a bunch of videos on a lot of different subjects. The Zebra murders, the D Mau Mau murders, the Zodiac murders, Jonestown, invasion. Well, Grenada came later on, but I went through a whole series of explaining to people what was actually happening in society and what these events were about, how they were covered up, and who was covering them up, and at what angles. And I was connecting a lot of dots to a lot of things. And I always looked at it like the 1960s was a long time ago. Who would care? You know, it's nice, so what? But if people knew what was happening back then, they would know exactly what's happening right now. And that way they could change their future. A lot of the people who grew up, I was born in 85, so a lot of the people who grew up in the late 80s and early 90s, they ended up on drugs. The educational system was horrible. The media was full of just, horrible stuff that, people grew up very disoriented from reality based on all those cover-ups and all that deception, all that illusion that was created back then in the 60s. There's a lot of lives that got destroyed because of those lies. There's a lot of people that ended up dead, ended up on drugs, ended up in the streets because of all that lie and confusion. So I want to go back and make sense out of this stuff. And people in positions of authority are people in positions of big jobs. They can't do that. And they know they can't do it. So they don't even bother with it. They leave it somebody else's problem. Who cares? So it's somebody else's problem. So the people off the streets who don't got any titles or anything like that, those are the people who can look into this stuff.
So you looked into that, you had a channel, what was the name?
Yeah, I became the real detective. I became the real person to look into it. I went on YouTube, started presenting my stuff on research. Nobody actually told what actually happened, so I became the guy who was actually explaining what was actually happening.
Okay, but what I want to know is if you have a YouTube channel, that you posted all that stuff?
Oh yeah, I had a YouTube channel. I had a lot of YouTube channels. I had like 15-something YouTube channels. And
wow.
Yeah, and I posted, I did a lot of different interviews on this stuff, and I had videos where I would sit there for hours explaining this stuff out to people. It was like just hours, so many hours of my life were invested in the 60s and 70s.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. And I wasn't even there, and I know what happened. And some, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I know. But do you think they just didn't like your work, and so they thought, well, maybe we messed him up now a little bit?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of there. Well, one of the things that happens that I discovered along the way is there's so many different levels of lies and deceptions behind all that stuff. There's individuals in today's world that are afraid of that stuff coming out because they may not know what really happened. They know that there's a lot of lies there, and they know some of the stuff that was covered up. They have intimate details of some of the things, but they don't know all that was covered up.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't know what's going to come out of it. Mm-hmm. What really happened. They don't. So there's a lot of people who see that stuff, and there's certain things they listen for. And if an individual's talking about it, they know that it's dangerous if it comes out. But they're not sure. There might be a whole lot of other stuff that has been buried and lost, and they don't know what's there. So when you're exposing this stuff, the only people who are going to know what you're talking about are the people primarily that are going to know what you're talking about are the people who have a connection to it, who are intimately involved in it, or they're sort of the gatekeepers who look, they might not, that might not have been their era, but they know there's certain things to pay attention for. They know who's speaking the truth on certain subjects because they know.
Mhm.
But the large majority of people walking the streets don't know.
Of course, but they have no time to know.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I knew always I didn't want to, stay in Germany because I know Germany very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how the minds are working because I grew up also with a lot of old Nazis or survivors, of the
Oh yeah.
Second World War, I mean, of course. As a foreigner, I mean, you see, I'm not white, I'm the, like the first, my grandfather came from Algeria to Germany. He was in the military, but he was in a, I don't know how to call it, Krankenlegion, foreign legion, and he came to Frankfurt. And so, like the first people who came to rebuild
He was in the
Germany.
French Foreign Legion.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then he came to Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then he got his family from Morocco because he left the 13 Algeria and he went to Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't like to stay in Morocco. He was working there in, I don't know, in a police force or something. And he didn't like the system, so he went to that French foreign league um, to leave Morocco. So he had papers for Australia, for Sydney, and for Frankfurt. But the papers for Frankfurt arrived earlier, so that's why he came to Frankfurt. And then my mother was raised here, and I was born here. So,
Oh wow.
yeah. So, I don't know. Really, I don't know. I mean, I was always very outspoken, and um, as I told you, at 16, I started working here in Frankfurt in the theater. I was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wanted to become a famous actress.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I went in 1995 to New York to the Louis Strasberg Theater School. And, I wanted to change the world. And that's always my thing, to make the world better. Um, so, um, but at one point I realized how that business works. Um, so I didn't want to be a part of it. So in 2000, I left for Quebec, and I went there to the college. And I didn't want to be in that business, and I didn't want to be on stage, and I didn't want to be doing those things because I knew as a film actress, you do have to pay your dues. dues. I
Right.
mean, I was approached a lot. I mean, before I'm not, because I mean, when I started, I was 16, and I was in the theater, so it was a totally different world. Know? And everything was good. But I mean, I can tell you, I went to Miami, and then the strangest people approached me, and I never liked drugs. I mean, I didn't mind the weed, but I really don't like drugs at all. And I'm very romantic person, so I don't like all crazy things.
Right.
And so, I remember when I went, I think it was in 2001, I went to Miami. Uh, so a guy came to me and told me if I want to work in a club, there is no money transferred. Um, you have to do their dancing, and there will be no money transferred. And I guess then they have some rooms upstairs. Well, I told him, well, no, I don't want to do that. He was very elegant. He came from New York, and now I know how to. Then I realized step by step how it works. You know,
Yeah.
so you enter in this kind of clubs where there's no money being transferred, so it's not a regular gentleman's club where normal
Right.
people can just walk in or elegantly walk in and they charge a lot of money. No, this is probably a place where only certain people have access.
Hmm.
He didn't tell me a lot. I remember we went to the Buddha bar. It was a very, very in bar. I didn't know this guy. He just approached me. He was suddenly staying in the same hotel I was staying in. He was very polite and he told me, this is a place where there will be no money transfer. So I think these days now I know because I did a lot of research about occult and about the industry now, because all of this started, and I know now a lot of things I didn't have a clue 3 years ago.
That's who's
And I
running.
wonder how I can be so naive, you
That's
know.
that's how it's all being ran as occult groups.
I mean, I'm just start getting into it 3 years ago, as I said. And I wonder sometimes where I've been. And so now I know how it works. I mean, I know that that would have been another stepping stone, once
Hmm.
I would have gotten into that. And I've been dancing because I was a wonderful dancer. I have a
Hmm.
lot of good energy. And I have a beautiful body. You have to have a beautiful body. And so I know once I probably would got into that,
Hmm.
then I probably would have met some other people, and then you do your sex uh, payoff, and then you got a role or something. You know what I mean?
So basically, they were trying to hustle you. Okay.
Mm. And I was saying, no, I'm not the most beautiful one, but I know how to dance, and I'm supported by it.
Right.
I used to have a very good body, and so and the energy, the energy, how you move,
Hmm.
and so um, I'm just wondering, and that night I remember I was drunk, and I used to have the Golden American Express card from Gérard Mathusia, and I left him, and I took that with me. And this guy that was a really creepy guy, young guy around me, I think he stole that one. And then the next day there was another guy who was in the restaurant of this hotel, and there was the piano. He was playing piano. This guy was from a foreign Arabic country, and I started talking to him, and he liked me, and he told me, and I told him the story. And that guy, this young creepy guy, was working in this, it was a lounge bar, like lounge restaurant in that hotel. And I told him the story, what happened to me, and he was very uh, um, upset. He said, okay, I will help you. Tonight I will come here, we have dinner with other friends of mine, and I make sure that this guy will never ever do anything like this to you. You know? And that's a long story, so I can't tell. So anyhow, he returned my Golden American Express card, which was anyhow not usable anymore because yeah, not to see I had it canceled because I didn't want to marry him and I left New York. And so, but he was a nice guy, but I just couldn't put up with all this, you know. And so I always was very lucky. I mean, in all these things, I always just some people always looking out for me. I really have to say. But now I have two children. I mean, the second child is just now in German, very normal guy. I mean, he's a psychopath, but he's a regular guy. And I have a regular life, nothing, you know. So I don't understand why now. I mean, I can think only because I post a lot on my channel and I go a lot on conspiracy and I'm researching and researching. Maybe that's why. I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe that's one thing
Very
that
simple.
that's one thing that I have trouble getting is people are getting gang stalked and they're not really sure why. And
Okay, I mean, I know there are two things. One is very simple. You are on the wrong side because they're monitoring everything and they think, oh, this person since 3, 4 years, she is watching one video
oh
after the
yeah, no,
other.
I get it. I think it's more. I think a lot of it's spiritual too. You know, because
Second,
these are occult
yeah,
groups. These are occult groups who, you know, the phase that humanity's in now. These are almost enemies of the human race. They're
exactly,
still human, but they're enemies of the human race. You
exactly.
know, like they're enemies of the real God, so to speak. And and so I can kind of get now how if there ever was a hidden agenda before against humans, there definitely is one now, and they're using everything in their arsenal to target humans. You know, they're using humans against humans, and they're using everything they can to keep humanity down overall and suppress humans and keep humans under some sort of weight. And so I can see totally now how that works. But with me, I never even knew what gang stalking was. I never seen anybody follow me. I never seen nothing. It was the stuff I was doing. I forced them to gang stalk me. They had no choice.
Yeah.
Um, Based on my research,
Ah,
I was
okay, then
showing out. I was showing out. I was a fool. And so, you know, I understand how I was getting gang stalked. Why I got gang stalked. But to the average person walking the streets, that wakes up getting gang stalked. That's the thing that trips me out. I know it's spiritual and I know it's psychological warfare. And I'm coming from the 60s and 70s, studying MK Ultra and all these programs. You know what
yes,
I mean? I'm a veteran
yes,
esoteric researcher, so I know well aware of how, you know, secret societies and hidden organizations and, you know, black projects and stuff like that. I know how all that stuff works, you know, intimately. I intimately have
wow.
been going over this stuff for years. But just to see so many people wake up getting targeted, though, by the gang stalking, who are just normal people working at jobs with, you know, like yourself, it's just mind blowing to me.
Yes, I think, as you say, I think it's also at different levels. First level is just you just on the wrong side for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Nachrichtendienst, or they used to call it Stasi. You know what you guys have, CIA, FBI, it's called Bundesnachrichtendienst. They're like, oh, okay, that could be somebody dangerous to our government, or somebody could be maybe a problem because he's too much watching this conspiracy part. So there's an alarm going on. I think it's done automatically. So this is first part. I think there's another part which is spiritual part. People we know, like spiritual people. I mean, more spiritual maybe people than me. I mean, who maybe read more in the God's word or pray more, or this kind of people who also, don't want to sell their soul for the devil, or don't want to make not want to make just money and um, sacrifice certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, mm, and then I think that there are people who are targeted who just by as a test person, and this freaks me off. I mean, I can understand. Okay, maybe I was too much on the other side, on the conspiracy side. Okay, maybe I was always outspoken. I mean, since I'm in high school, I was, you know, um, uh, bringing people to demos, or I could be influential if I want.
Hmm.
But okay, I understand this. But then, I mean, what really makes me mad is also people that just taking for this test, and I think this is outrageous, and I didn't know that either. And I just found out about that, about the hive mind they want to create, and about I don't know, I'm just new in this research, but EMR, I mean, that they want to map your brain and all of these nanochips that flow into the chemtrails in, and they use some people. I mean, that's one guy on YouTube, he's a whistleblower, he worked, I think, for the Department of Defense, and so he's always talking about crazy stuff, and I didn't understand one word he was saying, but I was kept repeating his videos to understand. And then I thought, well, let's use this expression and look it up on Google. And there was a whole list. There was this what? I mean, about like how that the frequency, that you have like a frequency in your brain, and they try to target this frequency,
Hmm.
and then with all those towers, they can also send certain frequencies to you, like depression or anger or,
Yeah,
and
remote
I mean,
remote neural
yeah,
monitoring.
yes.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be above about all that, because I think they want to make you paranoid and afraid.
See, the funny thing is even back in the day, I didn't know what gang stalking was, but I used to call the colleges, and I used to call certain organizations and ask them about remote neural monitoring because I was studying. I was doing studies into like serial killers and mind control, and how people may be being programmed to do some of the things that they're doing, some of the behavior they're expressing to the world. Like the old name for this stuff was, MK Ultra. Um, I think Project Monarch, those types of things. It's been a while since I used to look at this stuff all the time. But then in today's world, it's gone over into these remote neural monitoring projects. Like, in the 50s, you had Dr. Delgado and Sidney Gottlieb and Mengele and all these people who were, into right, messing with people's minds, alter personalities, and all that stuff. Now it's not
Yeah,
really in the laboratory as much anymore. Now they can do it from remote satellites. They can mess with somebody from a distance
yeah,
with these weapons. And so I used to call these institutions and ask them about the killer. Ask them about, ask them about the remote neural monitoring and stuff. I used to look into, some of the people who are historically responsible for violence and stuff like that, and see where these people induced or influenced from a distance. But I didn't even know when I got into gang stalking, and I found out, wait a minute, they're gang stalking people, making them hear voices, and it's because of all the people who are being targeted. Now I'm starting to see, wow, there really is something. I mean, there is something big to that stuff.
yes. But there is some. I think it's. I mean, there's also a movie. My daughter showed me that movie about the chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
I about the movie where they put in district. I mean, are you a warrior? Are you this? Are you that? In the end, they get the chip, and then the chip they're supposed to kill all those people, and then they harmonize the chip. And I think, I mean, from these movies, of course you can learn a lot. But I always believe, and maybe that's why I didn't know about all these things. Um, I didn't try to put in my mind horror movies or really bad information, because I always believed when I was very young that I put in my mind only beautiful things, beautiful images. That's why I was so ignorant or so naive. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a good sometimes it's a good thing too though that you're conscious and aware of what you're putting into your mind. A lot of people don't even think about that, so
Exactly.
that's very intelligent of you to have that approach.
So, so that's why at one point, I mean, I wouldn't watch movies at all. I didn't know. I mean, people was always saying, "What you want to become an actress? You're an actress. You don't know these people by name. You don't know how they make always fun of me
Hmm.
because I didn't care. You see, because I didn't want. I mean, I studied some movies when I was young,
Hmm.
but then at one point I stopped, you know. And so even when I was with this Leo guy, I didn't know even his name. I mean, he was just happily sitting in the same theater like me, a movie theater, because this movie was played. And I was just with the right guy in the right hotel room with this little suit. Maybe I was also set up. I don't know. So I
Might have
did.
been.
I don't know. But I think that I have really to clean up my apartment because my apartment's right now a mess. I got really sick. I had 3 4 weeks sick leave. I think the solution of all this, I ordered a parasite tea from Nazia Ra. It's called the Hidden Power University. Hidden Power University.org. And I ordered a tea. And I think I do not my parasite cleansing. I never did one.
Hmm.
Go back into I drink only certain waters. It all started 3 years ago. I didn't eat for 2 3 years, 2.5 years any meat. So I will go back now to do first the parasite cleanse, then drinking my water, and I have a distillation um, machine. So I will drink and cook only with distilled water and Himalaya salt, the pink salt, the Himalaya salt, put a little bit in there. And then, this is number one. And then do stretching, do meditation. And because I know now that why, I always thought, okay, meditation is okay, but but now I know it's very important to stand, to sit down, and not to think about something or nothing. You don't have to do it in a lotus sit. You don't have to cross your legs or do this or anything. Like you can not just lie down,
Right.
somehow and just rest your mind, you know.
Right. Yeah, I was. You know anything about hand mudras?
About what?
The hand mudras, the yoga, like yoga with the hand mudra.
No.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I saw something like this.
Hmm.
How's it called?
Hand mudras.
Hand noodle.
Mudra. Hand mudra.
Mudra. Oh.
Mudra.
Now, I used to do Bikram yoga and Kundalini yoga.
Uh-huh.
No, question. Bikram yoga and Shivananda yoga.
Hmm.
But I don't like Shivananda too much. I really enjoyed Bikram yoga because they heat the place up. It becomes really hot and you sweat quite a lot. It's a very nice, but I know how to sweat. So I think this is very important. And I think this is very, very important. And it's really nice talking to you. But yeah, I think I have to do all these things now so I keep strong. Already, I mean, trying to move since 2 years. I want to leave
Hmm.
because I don't know if you know Car Sunday.
Sundance.
Car Sunday. Car Sunday. He has a program. He's selling like. He's also doing YouTube videos, but he's also doing. Why you laughing?
Because I thought you said somebody's name and I thought you said Sundance.
Sundance?
Sundance. I don't.
Yeah, Sundance.
I'm.
Yeah.
I'm tripping. I thought. Huh?
Why?
No, I thought you were talking about it. Like you were talking about yoga, and I thought you were talking about like dancing or something. I thought you were saying sun dancing, Sundance.
Yeah, Sundance. Car Sundance. I mean, it's the
Oh,
name.
that is.
Car, the Car Sundance family.
Oh, so I was right. All right.
Yes, you're
Okay.
right.
All right.
Yeah, it's Car Sundance family. It's a guy from Germany who left Germany with his kids and he's traveling all over the world with his kids and they do unschooling. And he's a very nice guy. I met him last summer. And so he used to have also an English side, the Pakistan Dance family.
Right.
So, and he is selling like the sports, how you can do your own business with your knowledge, so you can, online, so
Mm-hmm.
then you can, and it really works. And so that you can go travel, live in Thailand or somewhere where it's really cheap as long as you can because we know, oh, maybe once they put the whole world currency in, you can't live anymore for 300 bucks or 200 bucks in Thailand and have a good life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
don't. Yeah.
yeah. So I want to do this, and yeah, I want to do this. So I definitely, I think there's also another guy who's called Dr. Simon Acting.
Mm-hmm.
He has the Skya show. The Skya show. And he's a very interesting man because he is a weather scientist. And he did a lot of videos. Now he's not doing videos anymore. And he lives in Uruguay. And he has interesting videos about America.
Let me ask
Very, very
let me ask you a question. Are you angry?
angry.
Yeah. Are you angry?
Right now?
No. About the gang stalking.
Yes.
You don't ever get into arguments with the people and yell at them and stuff.
No, I don't want to do this because I don't want to get there. I can't do this because I know this is not a good wouldn't be a good idea to do it.
You know one of the things that I've realized is I try not to get angry over stuff, but when you get gang stalked for a long period of time and you think about all the stuff that's happened to you,
Mhm.
just think about it. All the
Mhm.
stuff,
Mhm.
all the different people
Mhm.
who've done things as an attack to try to harm
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a lot to carry every day.
Well, I'm used to carrying a lot. Trust me, as I think it's maybe going longer on than I think,
Hmm.
and so. But now I'm aware of it, and I think it's a blessing of uh, the Almighty, the Most High, or my Father, or my. It's a blessing because He opened up my eyes. I think he was always very, very, treating me very like a little baby. You know what I mean? I really
Hmm.
have to say I had a really good life. Um, I struggled a lot too, really a lot. And so, but I think it's just time to grow up, and time to see the real reality. And I think you have to see one point in life. You just have, it's
Yeah.
just you have because once you're aware of it, you can heal it.
Hmm.
I mean, if they want to kill me, they could have killed me a long time ago. It's not a big deal to kill somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're gonna kill you, they could have done that a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they could have set me up 100 times for things. They could have done a lot of. Yeah, I mean, they don't have to do nothing. I just have to do pass my weapon or whatever button on me and bomb me. whatever. I think that's not the point. I don't know why. I think it's probably fun or torture.
How high up? How high up the ladder do you think it goes?
Well, I think I don't know. I can't say because, as I say, I'm just looking into it. I
Mm-hmm.
think people also can put you on this watch list, which I hear from other videos. And there are a lot of people around me who could have put me on the watch list because, as I told you, I'm very outspoken. I'm not afraid of government institutions or the school board. And I got a lot of trouble with the school, with my daughter, with teachers. And I was very open-minded in this. See, I have no respect before authorities when authorities insult me or use it trying to mm, take my rights away. I will not confirm that. I will tell them that I think about them and tell them straight ahead. And I used to get a lot in trouble with that in school also. So I really don't like sports. I never did. Even I was in school until I was 28 years old.
I never liked school.
Sports are very, it's a very bad practice.
Yeah, I like
Every,
the only thing that kept me going to school at sometimes was because I wanted to see the people, my friends that were there. But I
mm-hmm.
hate it. I couldn't wait to get. I dropped out of school the first chance I got. I didn't. I wish I had I not been going. Had I, I'm mad at myself for going to school as long as I did. I probably would be. I'd probably have more insight if I had stopped going to school sooner.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I mean, as I say, I also had good people in school who really protected me and taught me a lot. I was very lucky.
Hmm.
But I had also people who were pretty bad. So, and I don't want my children to be in school. I think everybody shouldn't be in that kind of system in school. And when my daughter was to be examined to go to school, the little one, they really tried to fuck her over, and they did a lot of problems with me. And so, and I spoke up, and I put them in their place. And so, I think there are a few people in the school system um, who are they don't like me yet, and they know that they shouldn't dare to do anything to their children.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
know. I know a guy. He went to a top league university,
mm-hmm,
and this was years ago. We used to talk about. We used to talk. I used to talk to him about conspiracies and stuff like that, and alternative research. And he had to go get beat with paddles. He had to get drunk and get. They used to bend him over and beat him with paddles and stuff. And he had to wash his frat buddy's car at 3 in the morning, drunk outside like some old bum. After he spent thousands of dollars to go to the university, and he was trying to tell me I was wrong on the stuff I was talking about, and I was right. And he was like, "Well, he was like, how did you figure that out?" I said, "I just went to the library. I went to read the old books at the library, and some guy on the internet was telling me." And then I told him, I said, "Look, you got to get beat with sticks and stuff, and washing people's cars and all that stuff." And I told him, "You did that just so you could go out and work for them." He was just doing that for the license to work, for the protection. You know what I mean? Like protection. It's like they're like, it's almost like extortion. They're just protecting him. He's paying for the protection to go out
mm-hmm.
and work at a company.
But I was never in the sport company world stuff. I mean, I even had sometimes small jobs there, but I left pretty quickly. And I also always was enrolled as a student. You know, I think I don't know. Right now, I'm doing a class, um, a computer class, because I'm very bad with computers.